Okay, perfect.
How's Florida treating you?
It is good. It is good. It's different.
How so?
It's uh, it's just a different pace. It's just a different pace out here. But what's good is that it's interesting. There's a lot of my friends that are out here,
Hmm.
um, who came from California or New York or LA even. So I don't know. It's kind of it actually turns out that I have a bit more friends my own age out here than I do up in the Bay Area, because I feel like in the Bay Area, it was all about the office and my family,
Right.
and that's what I did most of the time. But here, I feel like I already have a lot more friends, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of my buddies from New York, they all left basically. It's just a huge exodus out of New York to Florida or Texas or even
Hmm.
Colorado.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. Those. It's been pretty crazy in Florida and in Texas. So I'm just embracing it. I thought I would be a Californian forever, but you know, things change. So
Yeah. Now you're over on the West Coast near Tampa, right?
yes,
And you're setting up a brand new clinic.
yep,
And so I saw on your Instagram your 60-day challenge for a profitable business. What steps are you
yeah.
taking to try to get that going?
I mean, this is my first time doing that challenge. This is my first time doing a practice basically from scratch. I mean, we obviously have the building, which is great, but the structure and the people and the patients is from scratch, right? So steps that I'm doing are a lot, like anything I can do. The main thing, one, is just to get out into the community, um, and have them know that we're here. Like, so again, as I said, I do have some friends. So I'm like telling all my friends, I'm like, guys, I'm here. This is what we do. You know, I've got a whole bunch of discounts if you guys want another chiropractor. Like, I've adjusted, a ton of them on occasion. But I'm like, guys, like, just come in, check it out. I'm just trying to get people into the office
Yeah.
as much as possible. And then obviously when they get in here, just give them a great experience that they then go, okay, good, I'm gonna go tell other people about it. Now, that's kind of a slow growth, but that's step one, is just to get out. And then I'm talking to any type of business in the area that would, I think, align with what we do. So there's like a dentist out here that does cool, all natural type of stuff. So he doesn't use a lot of drugs. He does some cool stuff with like PRP in the tooth to regrow things. So, like, he's cool. And so, I talked to him. uh, Health food stores, gyms. I'm just going out to basically everyone and just being like, hey, I'm new in town. And it's kind of cool because I feel like, because I'm brand new, I don't have any pressure. And they're like, oh, you're brand new. I totally get it. It's not like, how come you're coming in here and talking about this? I'm like, dude, I'm brand new. I mean, how can
Yeah,
you hate on
right.
how can you hate on me if I'm starting from scratch? So I feel like that's kind of cool.
It's got to be the beginner's mentality, but you seem to hit the ground running right off the bat from graduating Chiro school. I mean, so for everyone listening, he has working well with your father, right? He's
Mhm.
the one who
and
started the
and
Chiro.
and my mom too. They actually met in chiropractic school, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, and they started Root Cause Medical Clinic in
Hmm.
is it Los Gatos or Saratoga?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And so they've been
Saratoga.
expanding, and part of the expansion for this Chiro business is Sterling had moved to Florida to expand the business. And
Hmm.
so, right out of Chiro school, did you know that you kind of wanted to start expanding and building the business, or was it something that your father kind of started, or your mother planted a seed, and you was like, "All right, this has to happen."
Yeah, that's a good question. I've kind of always had that in me, and I feel like, and I told them at a chiropractic school, I was like, guys, like, I love you guys, and but I was like, if I'm gonna like go through all this chiropractic school and like learn everything that you guys got to teach me and try to expand this thing into the future, I want you to know that I don't want to be in one office forever. Like, I told them that from the start, and they're like,
Mm,
that's totally okay, because our plans have been to expand. We just haven't had the team or the capability or just like the time to contemplate how to do it because they've just been hustling forever.
Right.
And I was like, well, if I get on the team, this is what I want to do. Because I mean, I think it's admirable for people who are like, I've been in this office for 25 years and everybody in the area knows me. And it's, it's comfortable because you're established and everybody's there. You go to the same place every day. But I was like, I want a bit more excitement. I'm okay with change for the most part. I think I can handle it pretty well. So I'm like, I want to do something bigger. And that's kind of always been the thing. And now the thing is that now that I say that, now I have to like do it, and I got to like show up and be like, okay. And it's not always easy. And I just have to understand that's part of it too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, did you meet any resistance in your own mind with that, where you're like, do I really want to do this? Is this happening? Is this what I have to do? Or was it kind of just like, all right, this is happening. This is what I'm doing. You made the decision. It's kind of going through.
Yeah. I mean, for about 80% of the time, I'm all in. Like, this is me. I'm going to do it. I'm talking to people. This is great. And then there's always a couple times that I'm like, wow, a lot falls on my shoulders. Like, I better not flop. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
so I'm like, but I mean, that's for everybody. I think everybody has that point. If it's school, a new job, kids, like, as an athlete, you just kind of have to go, I got to step up. And then you see what you're made of, which is nice. So for me, I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's motivating for other people who may be trying to go to chiropractic school, of like, okay, there's going to be more work after chiro school. It's not just going to be, I get the degree and then it's over and I'm all set,
Mhm.
um,
Exactly.
for you, I'm assuming motivation for you was to go to chiro school was because of your parents, but was there a point in your life that you wanted to be something else other than a chiropractor?
Yeah, I mean, I do have like an entrepreneurial type of approach to things. So I still like, I love like real estate. I think is extremely cool. And at some point I would be interested in like doing apartments or homes or something like that. But what's cool about the offices is that we own our offices. So I'm like, I'm able to dabble in that,
Like commercial real estate, and then kind of,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's not as cool, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
it still counts.
I own a
Um,
building. Sick, dude.
yeah, I know. You're like so hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that has always interested me, which I think as I go on, I'll probably just do some projects in that. I'm not gonna like change my job, but I just think it's always cool to have other interests. Um, but honestly, I would have probably stayed in healthcare to some degree. I'm interested in stocks like everybody right now. I mean, I'm just interested in things that I just have that entrepreneurial growth type of approach, and I like understanding how things operate and actually work out. Because, for example, like in chiropractic school, this is important that I think not a lot of people, and it could be in PT school too. Get taught enough about the business side of things.
Mm.
And they're like, I'm a great adjuster or a great treater or a great diagnostician. That's all great. But if you don't know how to pay the bills and you don't know how much you need to charge in order to pay the bills, and, overhead, how much is too much, and payroll, and they don't teach that. They don't teach that. You got to go somewhere else. And I'm like, I don't know. I know it. So I felt like I was behind in all that. I probably started to learn all that in even in chiropractic school. I was like, I got into a few books, a few people, and I was like, wow, I'm like way behind. Like, I hardly had a credit card, and I'm like, this is like, why did no one teach me this like 10 years ago? I would have been so much more ahead. So I do find that stuff interesting, of just like growing a business and that too.
Yeah, certainly. And we definitely didn't get that in PT school either. I mean, I think a lot of people who go through PT school kind of get the idea in their head. They're like, okay, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to go to the clinic, and then I'm going to work my way up. Maybe I want a clinic someday. At least for outpatient, if you're doing acute care, subacute, they're just going to get the job and call it a day. But certainly, I mean, learning about branding, or even just trying to get yourself out, like exactly what you're doing, literally just knocking on doors and being like, hey, I'm new, like, come down and we'll figure it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
um a lot of it's trial and error as you go along, but certainly didn't learn a lot of that in PT school or even before that for that matter with like you said, credit score and so forth.
Yeah, no, I know. And I, I met, there are a couple of people that were at my office in Cali. They're out of college, they're 22, 3, and they're just helping out at the office, and they're like, no, I don't have a credit card. I don't really know much about this. I don't really know about scores. And I'm like, no, no, no. Okay, listen, I'm gonna teach you so much. You got to start now, because that's like your report card for everything. Like, you got to have a good, in order to get even a car, apartment, like everybody
Anything.
check. So there's like all these things that we just aren't really taught about, and we just kind of like go, it's not that big of a deal until you get asked, and then you're like, oh, I have no idea, and they're like, you have no idea.
Yeah. Like you
So
get to 28 and you're like,
yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
having this rant with my sister, and I was just like, you gotta get just get a credit card. Like even if you're losing money if you use your debit card right off the
yeah,
bat, like immediately,
yeah,
just
yeah,
put it on your credit card. You're gaining a little bit back from what you purchase and so forth.
yeah,
But kind of get back on the topic of like chiropractic.
yeah.
You said you learned a lot outside of the clinic. Did you find that for your practice as well? Did you learn mostly like your practice style or the way you treat patients outside of PT school? Did you find that or not PT school, chiro school? Do you think chiro school set you up well for the clinic, or do you think it was kind of like here's the baseline, run with it?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that in chiropractic school, you get a good foundation for how to adjust, how to do certain tests, how to, if a person comes in with this thing, kind of what you do, the times to refer out, you know what I mean? So like all the stuff that you're like, okay, good. I have a few things that I understand. But then I think patient care, like understanding how to take a person through a program and the points for them to, increase the time that they come in, into the clinic, or to reduce, like their frequency, or to increase it. That it's kind of like a personal, you can talk to a different type of a doctor, and they kind of change it depending off of what they've learned themselves. So I learned a lot from my parents, especially my dad, um, on how to know when to continue care, or to start to have them go down. Because I just think in chiropractic school, it's like, okay, good, come in and get adjusted, and then come in again when you want. And it's like, I think I do have that problem with when I try to hire other chiropractors, is they aren't strong in keeping a patient on a program,
Yeah.
because they're just like, okay, good, I'll adjust you, come back in whenever you want, and we'll go from there. And I think as a doctor or a clinician, you're the person that they're coming to tell you what to do. Like, they're like, I need you to fix me. And if you tell me to come back in whenever, I'm not going to know when that is. So I'm going to come in. It's not going to be the right amount of time. I can tell you that most of the time.
Yeah, and
So
I think it almost creates like a weird ominous like is this ever going to get better kind of thing. Like
yeah,
they almost believe like this is my life now. Like I just have to go to the chiro every once or twice a month and get
yeah,
adjusted and then I'll be good for that 2 month period or whatever rather than like them trying to facilitate their own healing.
exactly. And it actually hurts other chiropractors too, because then when
Mm.
other chiropractors are like, hey, just so you know, like, I have a whole program and plan. You need to start off at 2 times a week. And then once you hit this criteria that you can prove to me that you're improving, then we can reduce that. And then when you hit that criteria, then we'll reduce it more. And they're like, I don't know, this other chiropractor, I just come in once every so often, and I felt okay. You're like, but you've been doing that for like 5 years. It hasn't changed. So,
Mhm.
I do think it's important to just have that oversight of like, look, you're coming to me, trust me, and let's just do this program, and then we can talk. And I think it is important to also, your criteria can be whatever it is that you want, but you need to have criteria that you and the patient agree on are important, and that they can track progress on. And that's what I think is not taught a lot in regards to patient care and education.
Yeah, I think with PT too, it's the same thing. Just finding objective measures or things that are important to the patient that shows that they're like making progress and
Mhm.
improving over a period of time so that way they can feel like they're a part of their own care and they're actually facilitating themselves getting better rather than just like you being the facilitator and you doing everything for them and kind
100%.
of giving them the steering wheel and be like, listen, like, it's okay. You can help yourself a little bit as well as well. And, you being the guider for most of the care, but them being responsible ultimately for their own health and well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's important too is that they have to be able to see the criteria that you're talking about, and you have to
Mhm.
be able to like show them, and it'll click in their eyes. Like you have to see in their eyes, they're like, oh my God, you're right. Or this isn't strong, or wow, I'm a lot stronger, or I've improved, or I haven't improved. Because otherwise, if it's not clicking in their own head, they're not gonna really stay on track. They're not gonna come back when you want them to. So you kind of have to get that thing, that test, that criteria that clicks with that person. And it might be a bit different depending on the person. So I think it's important to have a handful of criteria and tools to pull from to be able to connect that to the patient.
Yeah, and I think that comes from good interview skills, right? You got to be able to probe out some of the things, even if you have somebody who's very difficult and you're getting yes or no answers, you got to be able to kind of dig a little bit deeper to see what's wrong with them and what matters to them. I mean, sometimes it just comes as simply, I hurt, I want to get better.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's also some extraneous goals. Now, when you have a patient come in, are you
Mhm.
front loading them with a lot of information and trying to educate them? Are you kind of like teaching them as they go along, like, hey, you see how this relates back to what we talked about in the first visit? Or is it
Yeah.
you've mainly just kind of talking about everything you said there?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I try not to overwhelm them, obviously,
Hmm.
but I do try to give them enough info that they know not only what chiropractic is. Half of them haven't had an adjustment before. So I'm like, okay, I got to give you a little more information. Or if they have had chiropractic, then I go, okay, good. I'm just going to tell you a bit more about chiropractic that maybe you haven't learned before, just because this ultimately it's a team effort. It's not just me doing something to you and then that's it. It's actually we have to do things as a team, or else we're not going to accomplish ultimately what we need to. So I definitely want to make sure that they're educated at the start. Obviously, not too much, and you have to make the info palatable. If it's too like jargony for chiropractic or PT, they're like, I don't know what a subscapularis is. It's whatever. Just
Hmm.
you're like, the shoulder,
Or like
like
a rotator cup,
yeah,
like
yeah,
they say
yeah,
cup instead of
exactly.
cuff. You're like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, you got to like keep it simple for them, but it is important to make sure that again there's that click that happens in their eyes of they're like, oh my God, wow, okay, I get that, that makes sense. And then you're kind of like, okay, good, I don't really have to go over and beyond. But what I think is important is that you kind of have a baseline or criteria that you're trying to change, and you can refer back to that not only in at the end of the first appointment but at future appointments. And you go, hey, recall when you first came in and you couldn't do A, B, and C.
Hmm.
Now check this out. And they're like, oh my God, you're right. So I think it's important to kind of have a place to go back to, than just constantly talking and talking. They're like, here he goes talking again, I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think we're getting in the weeds a little bit with like patient care, and I think that's great for other new clinicians starting off that they can capitalize on um, patient education and interview skills and focus on that, especially if you're a new clinician. Those are certain things you want to focus on. But for you,
Mhm.
I kind of want to get into the topic of PT versus chiro, and I
Yeah.
think the term versus I think is almost like a combative term, and like it's one versus the other, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I think it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, where they're both a fruit, but they're both viable options for patients in a way, in a medical community altogether. And so I think where I want to start off is for you, how do you define chiropractor in your own words?
Um, chiropractic.
Yeah, chiropractic. Yeah, just like the whole practice of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the art of helping the body get back to a state of health and functionality that that it's not currently at.
Hmm.
And that can be done, and through chiropractic we do that through the nervous system by adjusting the spine. So the nerves that go out of the spine, those control, they control everything. So if you have a spinal cord injury, anything below that point is just not going to respond because the nerves are communicating info into the brain and all that. So from chiropractic, our job is to make sure that not only, are the spine and the joints optimal and able to move and glide to allow that person to do what they need to do on a daily basis, but to optimize healing and health through 100% functionality of the nervous system.
And ultimately, your goal early on is to have this conversation, obviously, but also, I see a lot of chiros also veer off into different avenues with like health for like diet and nutrition. Do you do a lot of that as well?
So I am interested in diet and nutrition. However, we at the clinic that I'm at, my dad is actually huge into functional medicine.
Hmm.
So right, he spent a lot of time adjusting. He still adjusts, but he spends most of his time doing that because that's what gets him jazzed up. He takes on like challenging patients, and he gets great results with people that have, that are kind of, they're like, I've seen 3 or 4 people, I don't know where else to go. And they kind of come here, and he takes on that challenge from a nutritional aspect. So personally, I don't deal with it a lot right now, but it is something that we do in the clinic and something as a chiropractor that you can do.
Yeah. And also, one of the biggest things that I see between PTs and chiros is you guys get a pretty extensive imaging in school. You guys look at
Mhm.
X-rays and how to diagnose that, which is awesome. And I would hope that the PT um, field is going in that direction as well, because I feel like it's definitely a useful tool at times. Why don't you talk about a little bit, do you X-ray pretty much everybody that comes in the clinic as just like as a tool, or are you looking for certain things to try and rule them out? I mean, obviously we know about red flags and so forth, but maybe everybody who goes into a chiro doesn't understand that you guys have very extensive knowledge and about X-rays and looking at imaging and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, X-rays are great, and X-rays were a huge component of almost a generation or two ago chiropractic. Like they would X-ray every single person that came in, and that, but now we know that X-rays are good for certain types of, as you said, red flags or issues that show up, injuries. But X-rays can change so easily with just the angle of the X-ray, the side, if the person turns at all. And, for me, I don't like to adjust or treat only off of the X-ray. I like
Hmm.
to use other criteria because an X-ray is like a static picture of a person that moves, sits, stands, jumps, athlete, whatever it is that they do. I think it's good for, injuries. Is it broken? What's up with the curve of the spine? That's extremely important. A person who's not healing as quickly as they normally do. We kind of go, okay, well, let's just probe a little bit more in this area because you should be healing. And they're like, oh, you got something a little bit interesting in here. That's an interesting image. So
Hmm.
for me, I like to X-ray when appropriate, not every single patient across the board. And that's just kind of what I've done and what I like. I don't think I don't think it's a bad thing if a person X-rays every single person. I just don't know if it's as required. But again, we talked about the criteria to correct and improve patient's care. And a lot of chiropractors might use that X-ray as a criteria, right? Like
Mm.
the curvature of their spine. So if that's what you're doing, then great. And they're like, look, check out this curve in this spine. You got scoliosis. You got a little thing here. What I want to fix is that. And they go, okay, you know, so if that's what they're doing, then that X-ray would be important.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think people sometimes can hold on, like patients can hold on to their X-ray as like this is who I am and this is me from now on, and
Yeah.
you're here to fix me, and they become almost, their ego is almost attached to that X-ray, and sometimes it may not be beneficial for the patient to get an X-ray. So I think it's good to see that, at least it seems like the chiropractic field is kind of like what you said, when necessary. I think that's a
Yeah.
very important word, when needed.
Yeah.
Now when you're going through, we do mobilizations and manipulations to some
Mhm.
degree. Now I know you guys do adjustments. I maybe want to kind of go over, for people who don't know, like what exactly an adjustment is, and then kind of what the goal is when you're doing it.
Um, yes. So the adjust. So the, an between PT and chiropractic, because we have a PT in our office. I think PTs are great. So I don't have any competition or issues with PTs at all.
Hmm.
And I think chiropractic, the adjustment is a bit more, it's a bit more, I mean, I guess you could say it's a bit more extreme in regards to where PT will go. So there are certain grades, you know what I mean? Like up through a grade 4,
Oh,
which is kind
mhm.
of just like how much of the joint you take it past its like comfortable place, you know, like you turn and then it can go, oh, it can go a little bit more and more and more. And I think with chiropractic, you just get that joint to a bit more of a tension point that causes it to adjust. Whereas, you know, I know some PTs can kind of do some type of manipulations, but I just think it's just not as severe, I guess, of a pressure and like a force. But with that said, I know I say severe, but chiropractic should not be painful or anything like that. It's just kind of how you grade how you're treating that joint or how you're taking it to tension and all that.
So for adjustments, are you one thing I hear consistently from patients who go to chiros is that they're moving, they're putting my joint back in place. Like I had
Yeah.
my cousin had said a chiro told her once that her femur was dislocated, and
Hmm.
I kind of was surprised by that diagnosis, but just because if her femur was out, she probably wouldn't be able to be walking. But um,
Yeah.
for the adjustments, are they mostly, are you trying to get like joints back into places, and is that's what you're telling patients, or is it more like that neuromodule, like that neurophysio change that we're looking for that relaxes the muscles and allows for the spine to kind of get back to some sort of normalcy or kind of a new baseline, so to speak?
Yeah, you know, and I think the joint into place is just an easy way to communicate that to some public, right?
Okay.
They understand that easier than saying, you know, what you said. Like it's important to get the neuromodulation and the neurology of the nerves communicating properly, so it's not hypertonic or hypotonic. They're like, just tell me if it's in place or not, you know.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that's what some chiros just go to because it's easier.
It's
And
easy
again, it
buy-in.
is, yeah, and it's easy, and it's just important to have the patient know what you're talking about, right? But again, it's probably not putting it back in place like it was dislocated and now it's put back in place like that, right?
Mhm.
However, you know, it's just, but it is, the joint is not able to move or do what it's supposed to be doing properly, right? And
Mhm.
that can have a chain reaction for the whole thoracic spine, for the pelvis, um, up here in the upper cervical spine. All of that can, when you just have a joint that's tightened up or not aligned properly,
Mhm.
can cause a whole bunch of issues. Can cause everything to get hypertonic, which then can compress the space in that area, can refer pain up into the head for headaches. It can do a lot of different things. So I think it is, the adjustment is kind of like a combo. Like you do adjust that joint to be put back in a more ideal placement to allow the nerves and everything else that's holding on super, super tight, that's causing that headache, to go, oh, okay, so we're in the right place now. I can chill out. I don't need to be causing this person a headache, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's more along that, where you're just trying to get the spine to move the way it's supposed to. And not everybody, what's interesting is that not everybody's supposed to move the same. Some people are just more inherently stiff than others.
Mhm.
And you kind of have to judge, do I want, is this ideal, not ideal? Should I be adjusting that or not? And that's kind of where the art of chiropractic comes in, for sure.
Yeah, and I think PTs definitely do that, and just obviously in a different way. Of course, looking at, if you see someone who has scoliosis or any kind of impairment of the spine, you may be trying to do some mobilizations, or you may even find an exercise that is almost like a self mobilization that can get them into the motion that they need to and change it. And it's just two different approaches. Where, for those that don't know, chiros are definitely getting way more hands on most of the time, where they're trying to again facilitate that joint back into a normal alignment, where PTs may try and find exercise to push them into an area that will allow them to get back to some sort of normalcy with their movement, even if it's not ideal sometimes. Like you said, some patients are more stiff, or sometimes they just had, they moved a certain way for their entire life, so it makes it difficult for them to get back to a normal position. But again, I think it's good that we kind of can establish that of like the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Now, for you, you utilize PT. Where in the step progression for patients does the PT come in, as you're working alongside one?
Yeah, I like to use it for most of my patients. There are patients that are chiropractic only, or PT only, but we have a lot of just complex cases that I'm like, look, chiropractic is going to help. But I think that when you combine the two, we're only helping you from every angle, because then what it allows me to do is concentrate like 100% all chiropractic, right?
Hmm.
And then the PT can concentrate on 100% just PT in that area. So then I don't have to kind of do some PT, and he doesn't have to kind of do some chiropractic. We can hone in on what we do, each like the best, and then allow the other person to just completely concentrate on their expertise, to get that person up to 100%. So for me, it's just if anybody is complex beyond just a typical, hey, I'm a little stiff and I think I need a little adjustment, I don't know, I'm like, okay, let's see how you do. But if they're not healing quick enough, or I'm like, wow, you've got a whole bunch of patterns that are off here, like you need to do some exercises also, like you got to get this core strengthened up, you're not flexible at all, again, that's the type of person that just gets adjusted forever and still has the same issues. I'm like, let's break past that. And that's when I would have the PT come in and they go, oh my God, I had no idea. So, I do some soft tissue stuff, but I would prefer to just adjust all day
Yeah.
and have the PT do all of this soft tissue stuff and get it in there, because they do help each other out. I had a patient that I adjusted and he did an eval before I adjusted him, right? And then I did my own eval, I adjusted him, and then he went back to the PT to get treatment. And he was like, oh my God, this hip is moving so much. This is great. So now I don't have to spend all this time on this hip. I can actually, it's probably coming from something else. So good.
Right.
Now I can spend time there. So it's kind of cool that we can just get as much treatment as we can into that person to allow them to get like truly healed as fast as possible.
Yeah, I think that duo is certainly important. I think you guys not staying in your own lane. I shouldn't say it like that, but being able to practice what you guys both do and do it well, and then also bounce ideas off each other is probably for the patient the best, right? Like, and I'm
Mhm.
sure there's instances where the PT is like, okay, maybe you should just go see the chiro, and for you, vice versa. What type of patients do you typically see that are like, okay, you're definitely just a chiro person and PT probably won't be best for you? Is it somebody who's typically already active and they kind of just need something real quick to get out of there, or what?
Yeah, it's not a person that I would put on a long program or anything. It's a bit more of a like, hey, like I don't really have a lot going on, but I just want to like stay in good shape and prevent things from coming up, which
Mhm.
I think is also great. Just like you go to the gym to prevent, certain things from happening, and you eat healthy to prevent illness. Like, what I mean? It's just a part of keeping your spine and this machine that, we're in on earth to as healthy as possible. So that person that's like, hey, I'm a little stiff. I got a few things here, maybe an occasional headache, but otherwise I'm good. Then I'm like, okay, let's just start with chiro, see how you do. And if something's not healing, then let's maybe add something else into it. But that's typically the person that is mostly chiro. But then again, if it's not solving as quickly as it should, then I go, okay, let's add some more hands in there and see what else could be holding me back.
Yeah, and what would you say the typical time frame is you see patients for?
Me, so for just an adjustment, it'll be anywhere from like 10 to 20, depending how complex they are, how many tests I need to do on them pre and post, or, you know, if they're active, if they're elderly, but I would say about 10 to 20 in between.
10 to 20, yeah. And now that we're in this interesting time where there's so much information coming out about pain and exercise and um, best practices to treat patients. How has your approach changed from when you first graduated, or at least was learning from your dad to now? Do you feel very like confident in your treatment style, or do you feel like you're always constantly learning? Like, what does your continuing education look like essentially, and how have you changed since graduation?
Yeah, a lot's changed, and again, a big component would be my parents, and then also the PT that I worked with in California. Um, she was very, very smart, and she's been doing it for 20 years. And I would just go to her with questions and be like, "Hey, what do you think?" So she would just be like, "Did you check this? Did you check that?" I'm like, "Oh shoot, I wouldn't have thought of that." Oh dang, And then I know for the future, and so I learned a lot from those two. And then, I do have confidence at this point just because I have seen the patients go through the program and our protocol and how to treat them and how they respond the greatest. I can tell, I'm like, a person, I'm like, there's no way this person will get, I'm like, they're just way too far off. And I'm like, oh my God, they got completely 100%. This is crazy. So
Mm.
when you, at the start, when you don't really have those experiences, you're like, am I doing the right thing? I hope this works. And then after you've done that a few times, you're like, look, I know this will pan out for you. You just got to trust me and do what I say. I've seen this enough times to know that we will get somewhere. And that's probably where the confidence comes from.
Yeah, how often do you get some difficult patients? I'm wondering if you get some. I mean, I've seen some pretty burly guys before where they're just, I mean, their backs are huge and they're just like
Yeah,
construction guys and they just lift heavy all day, and like trying to get them, me thinking trying to get them to end range must be like an
it's
impossible
rough.
task. Yeah.
Yeah. That extremely tight person is not fun to adjust, because especially like a huge person, because you're just like, it's like so hard. There's just a ton of pressure pushing out against you to do that adjustment, that it's hard to do it. Um, but yes, I mean, we just inherently see a lot of tough people because we're not insurance for the most part. So we're mostly cash,
Mm.
and we don't do like, accidents or um, workman's comp, or what I mean, like all the, there are certain things that chiros just like, they just hone in on that, like auto accidents, or they just hone in on certain things, or and so they just get a ton of patients of that type. For us, it's like, we got to get patients and they got to come to us, and usually they come to us because they're like, look, I've just tried the general chiro, it didn't really work out, now what? I'm like, okay, so I'm already two steps behind a person who would come into anyone else. So we do see a lot of people, which
Yeah,
is good. It's challenging, but it's fun.
certainly. And where do you said that discernible difference between like a different chiro, and you said you're already trying to hire, like you've had a issue with hiring other chiros because they like treat in a different way. What would you
Yes.
say would be the biggest difference between you and another chiropractic place, perhaps in your area? And, obviously it could be a branding thing to help you out, but also,
Yeah.
what, maybe we'll start there because I kind of want to go into a deeper question after that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I think it's just the fact that I I I don't like chiropractic that's just like on the surface, and it's like, we'll just do a little adjustment here, right side, other side, done, done, and it's not. It's so general that that you know I think a majority of the time it'll help a person because they accidentally hit the right spots, but they just, because like that feels good to have it adjusted. So for me, I like to be extremely exact with the things that I'm targeting. Like, I like to adjust, I'm not adjusting your whole T spine. I'm adjusting like T3 or
Mm.
T8. You know what I mean? And because I think when you get exactly the right area, that kink in the chain that's causing everything to go out, then you can actually get the results that other chiropractors were not able to.
Hmm.
So not only that, and then it's just adjusting skills. I just practice a ton. So I know how to adjust just about every part of the spine. And there are chiropractors that just aren't good at tough adjustments. And when you don't get a good adjustment in a tough area, you're like, that didn't really help that much. especially people with like tough headaches, TMJ stuff, pelvis stuff. That stuff can be tough. And when you get that right L5 adjusted or something like that, that might be a bit tougher, it makes all the difference. And then the other thing is just the understanding the criteria of like what is actually going on. So the full exam, and then having tests that we can, every time you come in, see how you're doing. And it isn't just, all right, you're a little tender here, a little tight. Okay, good, crack. It's like, okay, good, let's do this, test this, and actually know that we're getting improvements, compared to, I think I'm improving because the chiropractor told me I'm improving. I'm like, I can show you you're improving, and let me show you how. So that's what I think allows us to stand out. And then just our patient results.
Just being as precise as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And treating the patient in front of you rather than just a general, like, here you go, talk to you later.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the hiring of other chiros, if you're hiring older people, like to say people who are older than you, I'm assuming they're like thinking like, okay, who's this kid? Like I know more than this kid kind of thing. Are you hiring anyone older than you? And if you are, what are some of the things that you're trying to get out of maybe not get out of the practice, but try to shift the ship towards more a new found approach of chiropractic?
Yeah. For me, the guy we just hired in California to take over for me, he's 2 years younger than me. So that was great. And, I was like, thank God we got somebody who's not at the end of his career, but at the beginning, because he's so eager to learn and grow things and do content on Instagram and TikTok. And you know what I mean? He's like, I love that stuff compared to, so we do have other practitioners that are a bit older, and just what I observe is they are stuck in their ways a little bit.
Mhm.
And new things that we're trying to do, like technology, EHRs and computers and Zooms, and it just, things are slower. I don't know. They're just slower to adopt and know how to use it properly. Um, and they're just a bit, it's hard to teach them when you've been mechanically adjusting a certain angle and approach for 10 years. And then I'm like, hey, that adjustment's not that exact or that great. Let's maybe try and change it up. It's tough because you're so accustomed to that it's a lot to change. So that's kind of that. It's just, habits and older patterns.
Yeah, I certainly run into that with when I was going through PT school and running into other therapists. I think one of the common things with PTs is that 3 sets of 10, do that till your face is red, essentially, and it's just very non-specific and very kind of general. And I think being able to understand the patient in front of you and understand what they can tolerate volume wise, but also different facilitate them with different exercises or things that will allow them to do the exercise. Because again, like you said, if they don't want to do it, or if they're not bought into what your practice is, they're probably not going to get better, or at least they're not going to get better as faster. So trying to get some out of those old habits are certainly important. And when I first met you, one of the things that we had talked about actually was functional fitness. Why don't you kind of describe what that is, and maybe how you use that in your practice?
Yeah. So for me, an easy way to explain that is that it's just a certain type of training, maybe at the gym or wherever you're at, for your everyday life. So it's not just to like power clean to put a barbell over your head just for the sake of putting a barbell over your head. A majority of us are not competing in CrossFit games or anything like that. So it's cool, but it's not really that practical, right? So for me, in regards to functional fitness, it's important to know that, I want to be strong in things that I'll be doing every day, like practical things. Like, for me as a chiropractor, I got to have a ton of balance. Sometimes I'm on 2 feet, sometimes I'm on 1 foot, I'm off to the side adjusting this, I'm off to the other side. I got to throw myself into an adjustment sometimes. So if all I'm doing are, like my static squats and like my static curls and my presses, I'm just not that agile in any angle, right? So
Right.
I love the use of like kettlebells where you can, like you got to control that through certain angles, and it allows you to like adapt to certain types of pressures in all angles, right? So let's say you're a parent, right? And you gotta pick up a kid with this arm, you gotta pick up a person like some grocery bags in the other arm. That's like you got to be agile, and you have to know how to balance all of that. If you've only done, you know 2 foot stuff, and now you're trying to go up the stairs with all these things, like that's not, you haven't ever trained that. So I'm like, I say we just do stuff that trains us to just be as much of an athlete as each of us could be for whatever it is that we do. If it's a parent, person who's got a desk job but still has to do other things, a chiropractor, whoever it is, like there are certain things that you do that you need to be a lot more prepared for than you are. And that, so I will have patients in the office just show me how they squat, how they do all these other things, and I can just tell instantly why they're having pain in that area.
Hmm.
When they do something, I'm like, okay, you gotta do something a bit different, and then
Yeah.
also challenge yourself in other avenues as well.
The best is when they squat down and they're like on their toes, almost falling over. You're like, oh my God, stop,
Yeah,
stop,
yeah,
stop.
yeah. It's not
Uh,
good.
Yeah,
Not
and I
good.
try to and I completely agree. I tell my patients or even clients that I have for training that you got to train for your life. Essentially,
Exactly.
you're training for life, and this is a long-term game, hopefully, and you got to be able to do all the things you want to do. And a lot of the things that we do aren't just like single plane, or you're not doing a squat essentially, and you're not going to deadlift grocery bags in the store because that looks kind of awkward, right? You're not going to put grocery bag
Yeah,
between your feet and pick it up and start heaving and hoeing. You're
yeah,
going to pick them off from the side and do what you got to do, but you got to be able to, like you said, train for that, or put your body in a position that like has been there before. And it's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm able to
hmm,
tolerate this load and do this and so forth.
totally, exactly right.
Yeah. And so are you showing patients how to squat, or would you like kind of drop that off to the therapist?
Yeah, I do. Well, right now in Florida, I have to do it all a bit because
Okay.
we're a smaller team.
Sure.
So I definitely do that here. But I will also like bring in the PT, and I'll be like, hey, I got to go adjust this person, but can you coach them on this and teach them this? And then, I'll come back, ask them how to go. So we kind of tag team some stuff, but I definitely help out because I think that's so important. And it's also important to know, like, do they have trainers and other people telling them what to do? Because you don't want too many hands in the pot, because then they're like, I don't know who to pay attention to, and then other people get angry at the chiro for telling them, and then I get angry at the trainer for telling them to do something that I
Yeah.
think is wrong. So I'm like, this is what I think. If you want to trust me, then let's just give it a shot. But I don't want to conflict with anyone else. So if you're not on board yet, I understand. But this is what I see. Bring that up to your trainer and let me know what he says, because a ton of people will just be go over the top with like, I'm being told too many things, so I'm not going to do anything, and I don't want that either.
No, of course not. And I've seen that too, where I've gotten other clients or patients who've seen trainers or even seen chiros too, or other PTs, and they're like, well, they told me this. And I'm like, well, okay, and you
Yeah.
don't, in the back of your mind, you're like, you don't want to completely like put that other person under the water, because it's also your profession or the chiropractor's profession, and you don't want people to have a negative connotation when it comes to
Right.
practices, right? So you kind of just, I think gentle nudging is something that I've learned over the past couple of years mostly, and just
Hmm.
try to be like, okay, let's just try this way and see what you notice. And if you don't like it, we can always go back the other way or whatever, but being open to that and educating patients on that is super important.
Yeah. Very true.
And for the when you were back in California, you were working closely with the PT too. So a lot of the exercises stuff that you did were just dished off to them if need be.
Hmm. Yeah, so we had a PT aide that was great, trained, awesome, and we kind of would know what exercises to do for core, what exercises to do for the low back, and I'd be like, hey, can you take them through blah blah and blah, and they're like, yes, done, and they know what to do, and I trust them to do that. So that's kind of how we were able to keep a pretty busy schedule, because if I have to adjust somebody and then take them through exercises for 10 to 20, it's like I spend almost an hour with that person. So we kind of have to be able to work as a team.
How many patients do you typically see in a week? Well, like when you have a busy clinic.
Well, so in California, we were approaching like we would be anywhere from 80 to 100 chiropractically in a week, which is pretty good for us. And that's like a pretty steady flow with how we personally treat and interact with PT and do other things. That's pretty busy. And my goal here in Florida is to get it up to 80 in a week by the end of my 60 days. I'm only on day 8, so
A
uh,
little early.
a little early, but still, I can't wait till the end of this thing and be like, well, how am I going to get 20 patients in 2 days? So I'm like trying to hit it early and go from there.
That's good. Yeah, I like that goal, and I figured I'd gently nudge you so that way you can keep on track, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we've been talking about exercise so much, right? How do you keep up with exercise? Being, running a clinic, bouncing all over the place, try to get things running. Like, what's your relationship with exercise, and what are you doing to stay fit?
It's very important to me. It's a part of my day now. It's not like, oh, I got to go to the gym, and it's like that extra activity that I do. I'm like, this is a part of almost my job, in the sense I have such a strenuous job at times that if I want to do this for a very, very long time, the gym needs to be part of just a part of my day.
Hmm.
Unless I'm traveling and absolutely can or whatever. But when I'm in my routine, it's part of my day. And that's about 5 days a week for me. I usually love to go to the gym. Right now I got some friends, so I'm playing some basketball, which I love to do. I just like to stay fit. It's easy because I love it. The gym is great for me. I played college soccer, so I played sports, forever. So for me, it brings me back to that point of like, this is just it feels good for me, not only physically but mentally also. Like, it just keeps my head clear and creative too. I feel like I'm actually, like, I get a bit more creative once I get in the gym and my adrenaline's going, and I'm like, oh my god, I got these ideas. So it's helpful for me in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I feel like most of my good ideas come when I'm like on doing like long, like if I'm doing a stairmaster or even just like doing a super hard workout, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I get home and like try to, figure it out. And I think that's definitely a certain creative period of time when your brain can kind of just wander and you're doing some strenuous activity. It seems like you've always had a relationship with exercise. You said you played college soccer,
Yeah.
and when did you kind of start exercising? Was it easy for you? Because I think when I started first exercising, probably didn't happen until like middle school or so, and then I really got a hold of it. Were you always someone who just stayed fit?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really understand the gym until like end of high school, kind of like my last year, and then I learned a lot more in college. But um, for me, it was kind of, I would just play sports all the time. So I'm like, yeah, sports great. And then the gym kind of became a thing once I, was like 18, 19. That's when I started to like learn more about the gym. And in college, we had our gym days. And for me as a kid, I loved sports. So I've always had that. It hasn't ever been a challenge for me, which is just great.
Hmm.
I've always been like, as a kid, I was like, I can't wait to play sports. So I've always enjoyed it. It's just been a great competitive thing that I love to do, which I'm grateful for because it's healthy for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed too is trying. You actually just kind of touched upon it earlier, where you were saying, it's exercise isn't a obstacle for you. It's not something that it's like, oh, I got to do this later. It's something that who you are as a person. How did you develop that? Because I know for me it's the same thing, right? Like if I have a busy day, I work 12, 14 hours or whatever, it's like I know I'm going to get that workout in regardless, because it's just like who I am. Was that something that was always just a part of you because you had that long-term relationship with exercise, or is that something that kind of, as you gone through chiropractic school or just learn the things that you've known, kind of just became who you are as a person?
Yeah, it did kind of become a part of who I am, and it helped me. Um, like in chiropractic school, you study all day long. So
Yeah.
for me, this was great because I was like, wow, I need my break. I'm gonna go to the gym, and I'm like, it's still productive. Like I'm still being productive. I'm not like I'm gonna go to the bar and get a drink, but I'm like, it's still a break from school, but it's still something good for me. And that's always been so. It's always been like my reprieve from having to study or having to do anything like that. So that's great. Um, and that's why I've been so attached to it. But even so, I've just been traveling for like a week. I'm trying to move from California to Florida. It's been hard to get in the gym. I just got in there yesterday, and even so, I'm like, okay, good. Like I gotta like get back into it. When you haven't gone to the gym for like two weeks or so, for me especially, I kind of got to get back into it. And then after you go for a few days, you're like, okay, good. It's habit. I'm good to go. No questions. I'm going. I got a routine. And I think the other thing for me is I got to change up my exercises and what I'm doing and the goals. I always have to have a goal. I'm like, good. I'm going to get to like, I'm going to get, I'm going to get super strong. I'm going to hit 225 here, or I'm going to get super fit for like a vacation coming up. I'm going to become shredded. Like I got to have some goal so that I'm not just like, oh, I'm here at the gym again, like lift, lift, lift. Okay, whatever. I got to do something so that I can continue to like grind and push and have improvements. Otherwise, I'm like, that was a lazy workout, and I hate lazy workouts.
Yeah, I think people get confused with the two. Like, I think they focus on goals first, and they'll focus on like, I need to get shredded for this. I need to, get stronger for that. And those are really good to get started, but it's not. Sometimes it's not enough to keep someone doing it for the long term. And I think it's good to point out that like, okay, you're saying like, all right, like you said, you have every excuse right now to not exercise.
Yeah.
You're moving to a new clinic. You're trying to set everything up, and right now your biggest focus on obviously getting more patients, but you're like, this is who I am. I need to work out and continue exercising. And then the goals kind of come later. And so I think that's important to point out. Now, for you, what's your goal right now?
So for me, I want to get like shredded down to like 9 to 10%
Well, you're in Florida, so you're
of
going
like
to
my
have to,
body
right?
fat. Yeah, I'm going to be in the swimsuit for half the year anyway. So I'm like, I better get super leaned out,
Right.
because I got pretty strong where I feel, and I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to hit any crazy PRs, but I'm like, for me, I just want to be able to squat 225. I want to be able to bench 225 and just like have all around strength,
Hmm.
and then get to be below 10% of like my body fat and just stay super leaned out. I think I'm at like 13%. So nothing crazy.
Really
But for
aggressive.
me, yeah, super crazy. But for me, it is tough to get down to that, because I've been kind of in between the 10 to 13 for a long time. So to go below that is definitely a challenge, and something that like my body's not used to doing. So I definitely have to push it and go, no, 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 we're still going lower. So, it's fun though.
What's your relationship with food and diet?
It's pretty good. I mean, I definitely have a sweet tooth occasionally, but I can kind of taper off. But yeah, I would say I have a sweet tooth, but I know that if a majority of the things that I eat and heading to the gym also is like, if the huge majority is health food, greens, all that other stuff, I'm like, okay, I can have occasional sweets and I'm not too hard on myself. But also, I've kind of earned that through the long term health approach. It's not like I just, started eating healthy and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get off that and go back to a poor diet. So
Yeah.
it's the fact that the huge majority is extremely, extremely healthy. But occasionally I do think you gotta have fun.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you follow any diets or anything like that? Or you kind of just are eating what you want? Well, eating within the terms of what you want in a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a newer diet that Mark Hyman kind of came out with, that he kind of talked about on his Instagram. It's called like the Pegan diet, because I've been mostly vegan, but I will eat some fish. So it's like pescatarian. So I
Hmm.
basically am mostly vegan, but then I'll have fish maybe once or twice a week at most, but again, not every day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, and then I'll eat like my fish oil, just because I know that that's healthy for you. So basically that, but it is not heavy on the meat products for sure.
Gotcha. And do you find that you have a bad relationship with just eating meat, or is it just something that you kind of wanted to do because?
No, no, I actually tolerate it fine.
Oh, okay.
Occasionally I'm like, damn, this is some good meat. I haven't eaten this in a long time. But I just know that in the US, most of the quality is pretty poor. But I'm like, if I do eat it, I'm like, I'm gonna get a really expensive, piece of steak if this is the only steak I'm gonna have for a long time.
Right.
And I tolerate it fine. I'm not like, oh man, I can tell that I ate that. I just know that from the studies that are out currently, things change all the time. But
Sure.
what's out now is that it's just a huge majority of that in your diet's not super, super healthy. But I'm not saying everybody should. I just think people need to eat a lot less meat than the average American does, for sure.
Yeah, I think we definitely love to overindulge in quite literally everything.
Yes, definitely.
For patients, are you kind of trying to educate them with nutrition and stuff, or are you mostly just stick to chiro and exercise?
Yeah, I dabble in it, I touch on it, and then I refer them. And I'm like, look, if it's a complex case, I'm just not going to be able to give them enough info in at the end of a chiro appointment. I'm like, okay, look, let's get you in with an EV, which is just, for us, it's just a free appointment to gather info. And then I'm like, by the end of that, you're gonna have all the info from the right person to know if you want to continue or not. And that's what I'll push them to do, because I just don't want to give them a half ass of anything. I'm like, let's just do it right, and let's get you a
Sure.
full proper appointment and see what you think.
Cool. Well, listen, it's been great talking to you, man. And we're kind of getting to the end. And what I want to do is close out with I'm starting off with this new closing. It's called Health Me to Health You. And
Hmm.
so I'm going to close out with these couple questions here, if you don't mind, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Cool. For those who are looking to become more ambitious with Cairo, because obviously you're expanding and you're getting out there and being very ambitious. For those just getting started, what do you recommend for them to be successful?
I would recommend understanding the business side of things, and then understanding some form of social media and
Mm,
getting good at that. It doesn't have to be Instagram, doesn't have to be TikTok. It could be YouTube, could be podcasts, could be blogs, but that's where the future is going. And you got to have something, you got to have some pull in that arena.
sure. And then for knowing everything you know now, would you have changed anything? Do you feel like you could have done undergrad different? Do you feel like is there anything you feel like you would have gone back and changed to bring you to where you are now?
I would have learned. I mean, I wouldn't have changed that much. I think I'm like, you just kind of have to do the school thing, and I was happy with my school. And you kind of have to do the undergrad thing, and I loved my undergrad. So it's kind of like there were tough times, but I wouldn't have changed a whole lot. I would have just pushed. I learned a bit more about the business side of things a little bit earlier, and just had a mentor in that avenue to basically, you know, so that when a year like 2020 comes around, you're not like SOL, you know what I mean? Like you're like, wow, I'm prepared. I know what to do. I know how to get an SBA loan. I know what that is. I
Hmm.
know who I can go to help for like a bailout. I know how much to pay somebody, you know what I mean? Just all these things so that you're not so stressed. And I see a ton of chiropractors that are just, like skating past. And I'm like, I want them to thrive, and we should all be thriving. And all it takes is a bit more understanding and preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't think I asked you, where'd you go to school?
I went to Life West Chiropractic College. It was like East Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like
Cool.
Hayward. Yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, man, I know you're busy, but I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your time to come on the podcast and talk a little bit about chiropractic and who you are as
Yeah.
a person. It's been great getting to know you, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and keep me posted with everything. And I wish you everything. And I hope everything continues to go great with you. And we'll stay in touch.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
All right, later, dude.
Take care.